So, good noon, everybody. Let's start off with the English communicative class. Now, before I start the session, I need to tell you that this entire session is all about how you can get to speak better English. English, as such, is a foreign language, and it often, is found difficult to speak because we are not familiar, nor do we get a chance to speak the language. Now, as I start the session, I'm going to tell you things that actually stop us from, speaking the language fluently. Just one second, I'll just get my slides ready for you to see. Okay. So now, the basic thing is that we have a lot of occasions when we are forced to speak English. And as teachers, this is a regular thing. So let's look at what is that, what are the times that we need to speak English? Just a minute, my life. Is my screen clear? I'm not sure. I guess you can see my screen. So now, in an online class, you need to speak English. You need to do the same thing at an annual day, or maybe even a classroom, okay, a classroom session, a casual meeting with people. You need to speak English at a PTM where you meet the parents and talk to them. So, at many an occasion, you need to speak English. And this is something that becomes a part of your life. So, in all these phases, you're forced to speak in English. And this is something that we start realizing that we really have the fear. One of the most important factors in a human being is his or her confidence level. Now, this confidence level comes from certain things. Now, let's look at the foundation of this thing as to, how is it that, you feel confident? You need to, if only if you're confident, you can become successful. Now, this, we have to see where our confidence stems from. The first thing our confidence stems from is knowledge. All the knowledge we acquire. So normally what happens is, if a person knows about a subject or a topic, we tend to feel confident about it. A lot of our confidence comes from the knowledge we have about it. But knowledge alone does not give you the confidence. The reason is, you also need to know the knowledge that you have an understanding about it. Now, there is a lot of things that we get to know, but we don't know enough about it. We do not have an understanding about it. Now, if you have the right understanding of the knowledge that you have, you need one more ingredient to feel confident, which is the ability to implement your knowledge. Now, this whole thing I'll explain in a different way. You know how to drive. Okay, you have seen many people driving. Okay, you have read about driving. You have Googled and found out how to drive. So you have the knowledge. You know that if you put it on the first gear, you can start taking it off. And from there, you know about the clutch, you know the brake, you know everything. But Why does this happen? And how does this happen? That you leave the clutch slowly and accelerate a little bit, and then it starts moving. So you start knowing and understanding further on this. So once that further knowledge comes in, then the next thing is to know how to implement it, how to go about, doing it. So unless you know how to do it, it is no use having the knowledge. This happens to many a teacher. Now, what happens is sometimes the regular teacher of a class, is on leave, and they're forced to bring in another teacher as a standby. Now, this teacher is a PhD and she's very knowledgeable. But unfortunately, when she teaches, the class is unable to understand. The reason is she has the knowledge, she has an understanding really well, but she is not as good in communicating what she has inside her. The implementation part of teaching is missing. So, your confidence can come from only a good combination of all the three: knowledge, your understanding of the knowledge, and the ability to implement that knowledge. So, this is supposed to be the right way of looking at confidence. But there's one more component to this which makes our confidence maximum, which is the language. Your fluency of the language, and that you have to communicate it. See, unless you're able to articulate means to, express yourself. You cannot make people understand what you have as a thought. I'm basically into psychology. And I must tell you that there is a way that we feel confident. When your language is good and you know what you're speaking, you have the knowledge, you have the understanding, you have the ability to implement. And if you're backed with the fluency of the language, you're a king. You can speak anywhere. You don't have anything to worry because you are not ashamed of your language, you're not ashamed of your knowledge, and you know what you can do with the knowledge. So, this is what makes communication perfect. So, today we're going to see how is that we can go about doing this. So, let's go ahead. No language can be learned by just listening. This is one thing that I want all of you to understand, that it takes some time. A lot of us have only had an opportunity, I mean, rather, I would say a lot of you have only had an opportunity to listen while you were in college. Speaking was not the normal thing. Especially in Kerala, your chances of speaking English are very few because in college, the most natural language is Malayalam. So it ends up that your chances to speak the language and get fluent in the language was very, very low. So no language can be learned by just listening. The next part to it is we learned our mother tongue by listening, then speaking. But sadly, English was taught in the reverse of having to read, then write, and then speak. So this is where the whole thing went wrong. It took time. To learn your mother tongue also, you took time. But then you have initially listening and then speaking. So it made life much easier. Because when you listen and then speak, you know how it sounds, you know how it is, and then you're starting to speak. But whereas the way they taught you English was having to read first, then write, and then start speaking. So this again delayed your process of learning. Now, another important thing to understand that there is no learning without grammar because the sentence is never complete. I go, you come. This doesn't work. Because when you talk as teachers, we have a responsibility. We are heroes, unsaid heroes of children. They ape you, they mime you, they copy you. So you need to be speaking well for your students to be speaking well, regardless of the subject that you take. I'm not talking of English teachers, I'm talking of subject teachers. You need to know your language right. It is not too late, it is not impossible. It is only dedication that makes you go ahead. So, without grammar, there's no sentence that is ever complete. Now, vocabulary is another important part to your understanding of a language. The reason is, now you can have, you know, you can know the language, but if you don't know the right word at the right time, you cannot be expressive. It's so easy if you have the right word. Now, Malayalam is a language which has so many words to express thoughts and emotions. English also has its fair share. But the thing is, it's not used in the normal, spoken English. So what it is important for you to increase your vocabulary. Vocabulary is the number of words that you know. Now, it is very important to increase your vocabulary. As we go through this thing today, we learn how to increase vocabulary, how to learn grammar, everything we learn. But what is important is to know these are the factors that make your language look good. So the next is, even if you're good at grammar and your vocabulary is strong, yet your pronunciation plays a vital role. That place is wrong. It's PLAYS. Plays a vital role in your understanding. Now, what happens often? We get influenced by the mother tongue. So what happens is, when a Malayali pronounces the word BOSS, he pronounces it as boss. When a Tamilian does that, he says bas, but the word is boss. So this drastic difference makes you understand where you're from. That's one part to it. Next is, people who we are teaching, your pupil, your students also learn the way that you are speaking. So it's important to understand that your mother tongue influence, which is called, MTI, mother tongue influence has to be checked. Now, initially, it may be a little difficult, but practice does it. So if your vocabulary is strong, your grammar is strong, and your pronunciation is right, you have the language under your control. Now, constant usage of the language is a must. Now, English language as such, or any language for that matter, is how often do you use the language? For one, I know about 5 languages, of which my 5th language is slowly fading because I don't use it often, which is Arabic. Now, I can speak Arabic. I can understand Arabic. But the sad thing is, I've not used it in the past 8 years the way I have been using it before that. So what happens is, my communication in that language gets feeble. I'm unable to do it as well as I used to. So this is what happens. Whereas I practice Hindi, because I have friends who are North Indians, and I insist on speaking in Hindi. I insist that the pronunciation is right. I see that the grammar is right, so that I, fit well within their group. Speaking a language the right way, nothing like it. You feel you belong. So constant use of the language is important. We'll talk about how we do all this. Okay. Next is there are no shortcuts in learning. Now, this is something else. We try shortcuts. I've seen many companies promote 30 days you learn English, 20 days you learn English. Now, this doesn't work. You need to understand that your practice, yes, those companies are saying it right, that they can teach you. Now, in EduWide, there may be there are courses where they can teach you English, but the thing is, how much of anybody teaches you, you need to practice. So there's no shortcut. You need to keep practicing to be good at the language. No language can be learned by just listening. Okay? This we had gone through again. Okay. Very often, speaking a language confidently but incorrectly causes more damage to the learning process, because that way speaking that way becomes a part of your communication. Now, this basically is that some people take that extra initiative in speaking the language, but what they actually do is speak the language in the wrong way. Now, incorrect usage of words, incorrect usage of if the grammar is wrong, what happens is 10 times you say it that way, your brain takes it to be spoken that way. Now, here I would like to tell you a little bit of psychology so that you understand how your brain works. I mean, there are many modules in EduWeb where you can know about this more, but I'm just going to, brush the topic as to how it is done. You have a whole lot of words which are recorded into what is called your memory. So when you are speaking, these words are brought to your mind, and then you form a sentence and you speak the sentence. Now, what happens is, if you have recorded these words and the grammar used all wrong, and you've repeatedly mentioned this or spoken this, what happens is at one point, your brain has accepted that this is the right way of speaking. And you don't even feel ashamed. You don't feel, you're wrong. You crack off speaking it that way. It ends up that you're putting yourself in a very embarrassing position. You don't get embarrassed because you don't know you're doing it wrong, but you're actually speaking bad English. So you need to correct as you learn. A very, very important thing. You need to keep correcting. You need to keep listening. You need to understand how it is spoken and then speak a number of times that you know you're speaking it the right way. Now, if this has to be done, you actually need a tutor. Now, when I say you need a tutor, you need somebody who can teach you how to speak. Now, I'm not asking you to go to a tuition or a person. Here you have a whole lot of this thing today on the web itself. You can refer to Google, you can refer to a whole lot of this thing where you get information. This information can be used as the tools that you need to learn English better. The very reason that you've come to EduWeb today is because you know that you need that help. Reaching out is the most important thing, without shame. So let us look at what is that we need to do. But to be good at spoken English, we need a few things. First thing is, stop worrying about we will make mistakes as learners. Now, I need to tell you something at this point. Think about how you learned your language, Malayalam. It took you how many years? Did you start speaking in the first 6 months, 8 months, 1 year, 1.5 years? There are children who have taken up to 3 years to speak. the thing is, we all have different learning skills. We need to understand that, our problem today is that we have become too mature, too old, too adult, that we have a whole lot of things that we call shame, fear, embarrassment. But kids don't have that. They would mouth any word the way they feel. I know a child who says for water, he would say, chow chow. I want chow chow. Now, the thing is, the parents also understood what he meant by chow chow. And they would repeat it, you want water? So he would say, I want chow chow. Because in his ears, he has heard and he has recorded it as chow chow. It doesn't matter at that age because what is recorded does not stay. You can always correct it. It's moldable brains. What is happening today to us is we refuse to learn or we refuse to adjust. So, first thing is to stop worrying making mistakes. Mistakes happen. Without making mistakes, you never learn. So you have to understand you will make mistakes and don't be embarrassed about it. Don't be shy about it. The reason why you learnt your mother tongue so well is because you learnt without embarrassment. You learnt, it took a process. You didn't learn all the words at the same time. Your grammar was wrong. You were not speaking it right. And they were teasing you, they were laughing at you, they were, mocking at you, but you took it fine. You didn't worry about it. But today it's not that. Today you look around and see who's listening to you when you speak. Why are you so upset? You are learning a language. You're a learner. Look at your students. Are they shy? No, because they're learning. And we need to understand that as teachers, as a trainer, we are learning all the time. We are learning all the time. Every day we walk into a class, we learn more. Every day we speak to somebody, we understand more. So stop worrying about making mistakes because we will make mistakes only when we learn. Otherwise, we don't make mistakes. If we simply sit down, nothing happens. Next is be patient. Understand this is not a one-day process. I had this auntie who wanted to learn English. I'm talking about maybe 30 years, 35 years ago. She would be at this thing saying, Freddie, teach me English. Tell me, what is it? What is this? How to speak this? I'll start speaking to you from today. And she used to try hard, but she wanted it all like a juice, put into the mixie, beaten up, and she could drink and she can speak English. It doesn't happen that way. This is not a one-day process. In fact, it is a long process, and you would have also realized that. Even after you say you know English, it is not that you know English. The English that you need to speak, if it is going to be proper, will take time. Don't worry about it. But it is how you learn and how well you understand is what is important. So, learn certain phrases that can be used in multiple situations. Now, phrases are short sentences which give another meaning. Now, these are phrases that you do this in Malayalam a lot, using phrases. So, as good as gold. Now, you know what it means when somebody says it's as good as gold. It means something precious. Oh, that guy is as cool as a cucumber. When you say somebody's as cool as a cucumber, you know that he is a person who is very patient. He doesn't do anything spontaneously, but yet he's always calm. So these are phrases. You need to learn phrases so you can explain the situation much easier. You shouldn't be short of words. Phrases help you. Malayalam, there are a whole lot of phrases. I've heard people speak, there would never be a sentence spoken fully without a phrase in it. So this is something that's really great. You already have the practice of using phrases. Use it in your foreign language English also. Learn how to greet someone properly. Now, this is also very important. How to greet someone whom you're greeting is important. Now, you can't meet, like for example, when you meet the principal of the school, you don't say, "Hi, sir." No, you say hello. So there are many ways of greeting a person. And there are many phrases you use greeting a person. Happy morning, good morning, how are you this morning? You could say anything, but learn how to do it well. First of all, that's the first impression that you make on people when you greet them. So have your lines ready and make it different. Don't make it the same so that you feel good saying it. Next is, okay, there are two, 3 times that we talk fast. I mean, 2, 3 occasions when we talk fast. One is when we are nervous, another when we fear something, next when we are not confident, third when we are lying. In your case, you may be speaking the language fast because also because of mother tongue influence. Malayalam is spoken fast. Now, whenever you speak a language that you're not really sure of or not really careful, speak it slow. One, because you can form your sentence as you speak. Two, it is easy for the listener to understand you as you speak. So don't rush through your sentences because you'll swallow words. Your speech may not, convey the message that you want to. It ends up that you really don't, you have not really, expressed what you have to. Talk slowly. Be very aware that you're speaking fast. Talk carefully. Restrict yourself to simple sentences until we gain confidence. Now, this is yet another thing. The more we try and, we move fast in learning language, when we move fast, we tend to make longer sentences. We tend to, put more words into a sentence so that it sounds more rich. But the truth is, the easier part to do it is speak simple sentences. Sentences that you can crunch and sentences they can munch. Where what I say gets easily recorded in your mind. Now, when I used crunch and munch, I may have lost some of you. The reason is you need to understand what I was trying to say is crunch. Crunch means to reduce. So I was trying to tell you, crunch your sentence, make it small. Okay? And munch. Munch basically means what? Munch is to chew upon. So I should let you munch. I should let you think of what I'm saying. So I speak a short sentence and you understand it better. This is another way of learning good English. Now, pronunciation. I spoke about it a little earlier that your mother tongue influences your pronunciation. One easy way to do it is refer. Every time you have a doubt, refer. Find out, is it the right way to speak? This Google does for you, and half the uh, dictionaries that are available online tell you the word. Now you can choose whether you want the English version or the American version. This is your choice. And let me tell you, most Indians try to speak the English version, the UK version. And hence we sound wrong with the Americans. Because they say it different. They spell it different. But the right pronunciation is your choice. But it doesn't matter as long as you are keeping your pronunciation right. So, like I said, pronunciation is important, but definitely after getting a little more, you know, fluent in your language. Fine. Carefully observe how proficient speakers of the language pronounce the words and frame their sentences. Now, there are many a video on YouTube on whatever, whether it is on cooking, whether it is on stitching, whether it's on fighting, whatever. I mean, many videos. When you watch these videos, try and observe not what's on the screen, but their lip movement and the kind of English they speak. The more you train your ears to listen, the more you train your eyes to watch, you will know how to speak it. Then all it takes is for you to speak it the same way. So the next time when you watch something, you understand it is boss, you say it as boss. You don't say it as boss. BECAUSE is because. But unfortunately, your mother tongue influences, and you say because. So this is not a fault. This is because our mind has the this thing to roll words. The AU makes a problem. It causes a problem. It doesn't cause a problem, it causes a problem. The AU is the factor. So we need to be aware of it, observe it. So when next time we see AU, we are careful and we try to say cause, not cause. For example, fixed, FIXED. A regular mistake in Kerala is to say it as fixed. It's a fixed deposit. It is not a fixed deposit, it's a fixed deposit. So, how we pronounce it is very important. Because when we say it the wrong way, people judge us for our English. Ask your friends, relatives, or anyone who can point your mistakes out for you and correct you. Now, this is normally a little difficult till you come to a stage because what happens is friends, if you have the right kind of friend who speak the right kind of English and you have the right kind of, you know, what do you call he speaks the right kind of English, then you have the opportunity to share your, thoughts with him. But if the person doesn't speak the right kind of English, I rather just talk to him in English, but do not get corrected by him. I think the best person to talk to is your child because he learns English in school. And he also needs practice because he also doesn't get the chance to talk English in school unless the school is strict about it. So, home becomes a good front to learn. Here, you don't have to be embarrassed with your child. Here, you don't have to be, worried what he would think. You can say, I do not know the language. I'm going to learn it from you. Give him the importance, and you will find him helping you more than ridiculing you, teasing you. He will not. So, the easiest person that you can speak the language and practice is your own child. Speak to them in English only. Practice is a must. Now, this is something that I tell you that if you really want to learn the language, take every opportunity to speak only in English. I had this friend who had, who's in Kerala, and they brought the kid up in such a way with the grandparents. They would speak only in Malayalam at home. Unfortunately, at school also it is always Malayalam. Though this child is learning or studying in an English medium school, he could speak no English. He could only speak Malayalam. So it was embarrassing when cousins met. It was embarrassing when he met friends in the same building complex, because he would have to take a step back because they spoke a language which he was not very familiar with. He could understand, but he couldn't speak the way that he would like to, and they did. So it became difficult for him. I asked the parents to make it a point to speak only in English. Neither the parents knew English well, but you wouldn't believe, over a year and odd, that family dedicated themselves in speaking only in English. A 1:3 ratio, they used to watch English movies. And today, all three of them speak good English. It took 1.5 years, but they did practice. They were dedicated. As teachers, we have no choice. We need to have our command of English to make children understand, to feel the confidence, and most of all, convey what is in our thoughts. The language is important. Another way of understanding how you sound, what is that your pronunciation is like, the speed that you speak in, the clarity of your voice, the emphasis what you give when you speak. I told you not to. Now, this emphasis, only when you record would you know how you're doing. So, what you can do is, it doesn't really matter what it is. You can read an article, you can talk about something that you like. For example, a trip I made to zoo, what I would like my son to be, what I would like to do in my life. Some topic. Today, everybody has a phone. Pick that phone of yours, put it into record mode, and start speaking. You record it for a minute or two. It's a long time. Let me tell you, initially, when you start, you can't even talk 2 minutes continuously. But it's okay. I believe that a bite at a time, that's easier to chew. So, what you do is you get onto it with, you know, recording yourself for a minute or two. Put your headphones on so that others don't tease you or others don't understand, and listen to it. You will find your mistakes. Initially, it will feel a little embarrassing, but don't worry. Every time you record, ultimately one day, you'll find yourself proud of the voice that you speak with, proud of the pronunciation that you do, proud of the control that you have over the language. So, record yourself and practice. Next is to learn at least one new word every day. It seems difficult, but the truth is, if we can take just one word, when I say learn one word, it means that, okay, let's say the word is procrastination. Now, look for the meaning. It'll tell you that it is about postponing things, a habit of postponing things regularly. Now, it's a beautiful word, procrastination. When it comes to learning English, I procrastinate. What does it mean? That I keep pushing the day to the next day to learn or start learning English. Don't procrastinate. Procrastination is because you have inertia. Inertia is your inability to start, your problem to start off. You have, once you start, learning one word. Now, when you take the word, do not just say, oh, procrastination. It means to postpone. But if you learn it that way, it will not get into your head. You need to use it in a sentence or two. If you're dedicated about it, you can even write it down. The brain understands it much better. So, what happens is you write the word down and you take the sentence in and you use it in the sentence. Procrastination is one of the reasons I'm unable to start off learning English. I will not postpone any further. I am starting today. You have understood the word. Your brain has recorded it. And by the end of the week, you know 7 words, 7 new words. And try to use it regularly. Don't think that, by learning the word this way and you keep it in your mind, it fades. This is one other aspect of our brain. When we do not use, think, or address something for a long time, it tends to fade. You don't remember. It's even death is that. When somebody dies today, we remember, we cry, we are in grief, we are in pain. 1 week gone, the pain is still there. The thoughts are still there. 2 weeks gone, 3 weeks gone, 1 year gone. There's not much of pain, but the thoughts are still there. So things fade. So remember, we need to have a constant reminder of the words that we learn. Watch English movies with subtitles. This is yet another very good way of learning English. You learn accents. You also learn the way words are spoken. Initially, it's going to be a mess. It's so difficult to understand. And you would wonder, even the subtitles, you can't read in the speed that they speak. Don't worry. Take things like, okay, there's an old serial called Mind Your Language. Try that. But that is different languages and it's a funny serial. But again, you will learn. Watch English movies. What happens is when you start reading the subtitles, initially it will be difficult to follow. But if you're dedicated and you keep doing it over and over and over again, soon you'll be good enough to read the subtitles at that speed. Once your brain attunes to that and you learn how to read in that speed, slowly it starts understanding the language. Soon the subtitles won't matter. You can understand the language better. And if you are actually practicing, see, initially watch the movies not for the movie's sake. Watch the movies to learn. So you may have to write down a word or two to refer. What does that word mean? It may sound silly, but these are easier ways to learn English. Because today we are in a digital world. Everything is on our laptops or phones. Make the best use of it. Gone are the days of the books. You need to depend on what is easy for you. Going by bus, going by car, going by this thing, wherever you are, waiting at a station, you can learn. When you see a word in an advertisement that you can't understand, Google it immediately. Find out the meaning of the word because it makes a big difference in our life. So, let's go on. Keep a pocket dictionary. Today, I wouldn't say keep a pocket dictionary. I would say keep a dictionary in your phone. You had a whole lot of them. I use a word web. Okay, a very simple one. But it is important. And I refer the dictionary at least 4 times, 5 times a day because there are certain words that I also don't know. I'm learning every day. My English is definitely good enough to, speak anywhere. But yet, I feel a shortcoming. I'm 58 or 59 rather, and I'm still learning. Learning never stops. Learning never stops. We teach and we learn. Keep a dictionary, refer to it. Don't be ashamed. When we hear new words, try to find its usage and its antonyms. Now, I guess you know what synonyms and antonyms are. I'm just going to say it simply. Synonyms are similar words, antonyms are opposite to it. Why it says find the antonyms? Because the mind has a peculiar way of recording. So if you know the synonym and the antonym, you won't forget the word. So it is important for you to learn words and learn it the right way. Okay, as we come to the end of the class, I'm going to say a few things that will make spoken English easy. We need to spend enough time to learn. I'm not asking much, 1 hour a day, but that 1 hour should be dedicated to English, learning English. So it could be recording, it could be, okay, let me put it this way. You can do many things. You can write it down if you want. One way is to record and listen to your voice. Two, to read a newspaper aloud. Three, to listen to a news channel, an Indian news channel, English news channel, NDTV, anything, but a good news channel to learn how Indian English is spoken. We have an English called Indian English. And you can speak that language. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to have a foreign accent. Next is the easiest way to drop your shame, drop your fear, drop embarrassment is stand in front of a mirror, stick something there initially, and read it out. But keep looking at your eyes. The most difficult person to face in your life is yourself. When you look at your eyes, you would feel a little embarrassed. You would laugh. But start reading it out. Soon, take the paper off, and what we were trying to record, do the same while you're watching your eyes. Soon you could stand in front of anyone and speak without fear. Because you are now seeing yourself in that person's eyes. You know how you look. You know how you sound. You know how you speak. So your fear drops. Spend enough time to learn the language. We are active in learning English, being energetic in the learning process. Now, here I'm talking of enthusiasm. You need to be enthusiastic. You need to be excited to learn the language. When I was in a foreign country for about 15 years. For a good part of my life there, I didn't learn the language Arabic. It was of no use to me. I was training. I didn't need it. Then, 7 years down the line, I got into a business where I was forced to speak and understand the language. If I didn't, I would have lost my clients. So I had a need. I would spend enough time trying to learn the language, speak without shame. I would look into a mirror and try speaking the language. Arabic is spoken from the throat. It's guttural in, speech. I would try to pronounce it the way they speak. So there is an excitement. I would force my wife to learn so that I could speak to her. My daughter was learning Arabic, so she knew the words, but she didn't know how to say it. She could read, she could write, but she couldn't speak, but I could speak. So this is all it is. The excitement in learning a language. And English is your necessity. Be excited about learning it. We find the right environment to practice the language, but if you lack the company, then in front of a mirror. I told you this already. The mirror is the best place to practice. Next is we have to review and practice our past lessons while we are still learning to speak in English. This is basically that as days go by, you've already, let's say, you're 2 weeks down in learning good English. So in 2 weeks, as I know, you would have read at least 10 snippets from papers. You would have watched at least about 4 movies. Re-review these movies. Reread those papers. Re-listen to the recordings you made. Re-practice reading the same thing. You'll find there's a drastic difference in 2 weeks' time if you have practiced well. Review increases your confidence. Reviewing irons out a lot more than you did the last time. So you get better. We tend to procrastinate. Here comes the word. Okay? Do not let your mind postpone the time to learn. To remember what we understand, it is a most must that we read on the same topic again. Now, let me tell you why we procrastinate, why we postpone. One could be the lack of interest or the lack of importance. But sometimes, even if it is important, we try to procrastinate. This is the laziness of the mind. You need to shed it and say that, no, from today, that doesn't work with me. I'm not talking of just English, your life. If you think you're procrastinating, you need to stand up and say, no, I want that glass of water. I will go take that glass of water. I will drink that glass of water. But the moment you postpone saying that, when I go, just do something else, I'll drink water then. No, don't let your mind rule you. You rule your mind. Procrastination is because your mind is taking over your sense. We'll talk about this in some other class, but it's very important for you to know that your mind is not your own. Your mind owns you if you don't know how to own your mind. So, hope this is understood. So, we should stop relying on our native language. Now, here again, if you think in Malayalam and translate it into English and speak, it'll go wrong because it is not the same sentence construction. Your sentence construction goes completely wrong if you try to translate because normally English is spoken the reverse way. You can try it out and you'll find that English says it's just the reverse. So you need to start thinking in English. When you want to speak English, think in English. If you start thinking in your native language, you will go wrong. Because the grammar construction, the sentence construction is completely different. So stop relying on your native language. Next is, we should focus on the mistakes we commit. Now I'm saying it reverse from where I started. You need to focus on the mistakes you commit as you learn. Initially, don't focus on it, don't worry about it, but you start focusing because what's important is if you don't correct it, it will become a habit. So correct your mistakes as you go. Next is we put things in context or implement. Learning new words is not enough unless we know where to use them or how to use them. So when you use a word, you should know what kind of a sentence you can use it in. So that improves your vocabulary. Every time you use it in the right context, you will feel proud of yourself that you could use that word. So it is not only in learning the word, you should know in what context you can use it and also implement it each time. So, I'm coming to the end of my session. I would like all of you to take an extra effort from today in improving your English. EduWeb gives you a whole lot of modules like these, which can be really useful. Get back to them, ask them what are the courses that they have. There are all these short courses that you can take, which gives you a whole lot of booster effect in learning. I thank each of you who had attended my class. I thank all of you and see you all. Bye.